Hello one and all, my nickname is Cyclone. I am from the Let's Play Chess website, and this is my first attempt at a video annotation. I've chosen a sight game for this first annotation. I hope that you find this annotation a very fun and interesting game to look at. We have two players here in the ChessWorld Pyramid. This game was played between January 1st and January 3rd of 2007. Player white is Gwil, and player black is Gwil-Iqui. You can find a copy of this game also in my text annotations, and feel free to look at my profile to find that. This game starts off d2, d4, d7, d5. White plays the Queen's Gambit with pawn c4. Black refutes the Queen's Gambit by playing knight f6, and in response, white decides to trade pawns. The reason for this is because white intends to play the pawn push e4, which he does, which basically takes over complete dominance of the center. You'll see that the c5, d5, e5, and f5 squares are now all controlled by white. Very strong control. And the knight has no choice but to go home and attack that pawn. White, of course, defends the pawn with knight c3, e6. Bishop wants to come out and play. Knight f3. Black exerts a pin on the knight at c3, attempting to basically keep it from defending the pawn on e4. Now, instead of trying to defend the knight, white instead continues to defend the pawn, as he should. And the reason for that is actually playing bishop d3 to defend that pawn. He may later attempt to trade pieces later. We'll see what happens. Knight to c6. Now white actually castles here. And this actually relieves the pin just as effectively, so there's no longer a pin on the knight. Black also castles, but that's actually a big mistake. It's a huge mistake on black's part. Now, white has one move he's going to play that actually tears this game wide open. I will give you a moment to look for that move. And that should be long enough. The move is a very simple and effective move here. He actually plays pawn to e5. And reason for this is actually a double-barreled move here. This is a very effective move because the knight now is under attack, and it's going to feel like it has to move, which it will in a moment. But now the bishop also attacks h7, which is what the knight is defending. So a very effective move by white to take control of the game. Black's response is to get rid of the knight, as we noted. The bishop captures h7 is a sacrifice of the bishop on h7. The king will take it, of course. Knight to g5 is check, and a very effective check that is. Because the queen cannot take the knight, the king literally has to move back to where it came from. And queen to h5 is a very effective attack here because white now has checkmate in one move. I'm sure you can see it, queen to h7, no question. So black, of course, has to prevent that checkmate. Now he could play knight to f6 here, which would basically trade the knight for the pawn. That would actually stop for now a checkmate, but it would still be a very strong attack here once the knight was gone, and the checkmate threat would still loom. So black instead plays rook to e8. Now the queen actually takes on f7 here, not going to h7 as normal. The reason is because A, the pawn is no longer defended, and B, it's going to open up an entire new threat later on here. King goes to h8, queen back, and king back. The f7 pawn is now missing. The queen now goes to h7 to check. King goes to f8, which is forced. Queen to h8 check. That's going to force king to e7, and then the queen will go to g7 to capture the pawn for checkmate. So black simply resigns at this point and doesn't try to play on. Now this is a case where the castled king is checkmated 9 moves after he castles, and obviously not a very good situation for a castled king to castle into. So this has been a quick and very simple game between two players on the ChessWorld Pyramid. I hope you enjoyed this game. I look forward to bringing additional annotations in the future. Good day, everybody.